It is the Matt Mosley Show. And for years, I've had Fran Fraschilla, whether I was on in Dallas, Waco, wherever, on my radio show. Fran, as everybody does now, it's the YouTube, right? The YouTube shows. And so I'm glad to have you on camera. And there you are up in the mountains. You're getting ready tomorrow to make your way to Houston.
Yep.
Won't be too far away from me where you used to live in the Metroplex. How are you, sir? And boy, has the Big 12 ever had this much drama? Like some on the court, some off the court.
Yeah.
I feel like it's some heavy drama in this conference right now.
Well, 23 years worth. We've had a lot of drama myself. Great teams, tough losses, coaches getting fired, hired, etc. First of all, I miss you because I've been in Waco once, and I will see the Bears in Houston for their Cougars senior night, which at moment might not be pleasant, but
no,
I will see Coach Drew and the team, and I'm sure we'll talk about the Bears and where they're headed, which I think is in a good place. But great to see you. I miss Dallas. I miss Tupinamba. I hear from Eddie every now and then, and I miss those shrimp tacos that he makes that are not on the menu, by the way. Shrimp nachos, I should say.
Shrimp nachos. Yeah, I was with John Underwood the other night. He's a big fan of yours as well, and he likes to hang out there because he and Eddie, of course, played together at A&M, and so his grandson is playing as a junior at Lake Highlands, Miller Mask. And he's a guy that, we should all have our eye on. He's about 6'7", 6'8" kid. And he's getting better and better. And this is not a team that really likes to throw it down low. but Miller is he's getting better and better. He's really helping a team that won district for Lake Highlands. So that's kind of cool. And because of all of John's contacts, like Kelvin Sampson and a lot of the big time, at some of these tournaments, they've seen Miller play. And so they've given him some good feedback. And so that's kind of fun.
Well, by the way, my other son, James, is coaching a Lake Highlands graduate right now with the Washington Wizards.
Wow.
So Trey is going to be a terrific player.
Yeah.
As you know. And he's got some Waco roots because Dad played at Baylor for a little bit. But Trey Johnson's going to be tremendous. They got a young team, but James is you've known about James since he was little. He's now one of the youngest assistants in the NBA and doing a good job. And by the way, he played at OU. And when he was at OU, there was a sixth grader who used to work out all the time. And he'll be working him out some more because that's Trey Young. So they have reunited. They have reunited, and it feels so good.
Trey's little brother, by the way, not to get too into weeds, but is a sophomore on the Lake Highlands team now. All right. And it's hard to be a little brother to Trey Johnson, right? It's so, the Boozer, you've seen all those brothers over the years. Blake Griffin had a brother, right? It's always tough when your brother is like way up here. Yes.
Superstar. Yes. Yeah, no question.
So
anyway, I digress.
No, I love all that, Fran, though. Let's start with Baylor, though, since I still do a lot of Baylor talk, and I have Scott on. And Scott's been great this year. I got to say, you never know how a coach is going to handle, because he hasn't been through this in a long, long time. They're 3-10 in conference. The year's, pretty much been a disaster for a lot of reasons. And I got to say, Scott's handled it well. He's got a new AD who loves Scott, so that's all good. And I think they'll be able to. We know that you can flip these things in a hurry. But let me ask you this: you've seen they obviously whiffed on Ratai. You and I probably in our minds know what they probably spent on him.
Right.
Number would probably be in the $1 million to $1.5 million range or somewhere around there. They obviously, for reasons, maybe unforeseen reasons, who knows, Jeremy Roach was a whiff too. So 2 straight years of some big ticket items where it was just a major whiff. And then with the Rob Wright thing and injuries, the thing has gone in the tank. All right. Yeah. So what I need to know from you is, like, if you're okay, you always need more money. You can never turn that down, right? Let's get more money. Let's have more NIL money. But Baylor's got to do something different from an evaluation standpoint. I don't think Scott would disagree with me on that statement.
Yeah.
From what you can tell, and you know a lot of this inside stuff, what can Baylor do there, and what do you think Scott will do to get this thing flipped in a hurry and get Baylor back to where it belongs?
It's a good question. Obviously, Scott didn't become a dumber basketball coach. We know that. You see this going on around the country, and when you see a coach who's had a lot of success for a long time not do well, there's a number of reasons in the new era, Mose. This is a whole new era. This is a different world than what you and I have been used to through the years. Like, for example, Colorado's got 9 freshmen. They're very competitive. And I'm thinking, that's great, but how many of those guys are going to be there when they're juniors? In the old days, you'd say, watch out for Tad Boyle's group. They're going to be good in a couple of years, but that's gone. Mm-hmm. It's like Rob Wright leaving. I mean, Scott thought he was in, and then he's out, right? So, couple things. Number one, evaluation is critical. Bill Self has whiffed more than Scott has. Timberlake, a bust. A.J. Storr, a bust. Ryland Griffin, Dallas kid, a bust. This Peterson thing is a joke. What's going on right now, that kid's probably going to make about $500,000 a game, maybe a little less. But, that what's going on in Kansas is a joke. So, yes, Scott's, I think he knows he missed on Jeremy Roach. You think you're getting the captain of Duke to be a great player, but there's a reason why John Shire didn't keep him. And Jeremy kind of got in the way of Rob and VJ last year, I thought.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Ratai could be Michael Ratai's a good player. I think in certain years he'd be a good 8th man on a good Baylor team. But I think also it goes back to like knowing what I know about the program. I don't think they have the amount of NIL money going into the last couple of years that other people had. And so when you do miss, you miss spectacularly, and it really hurts your team. Grant McCaslin, our good friend, can miss out at Texas Tech, and we're all sick about the injury to JT. But when he misses, it's okay because he's got enough money that he's bought. I say bought. That's a new. It used to be. In the old Southwest Conference, they were buying a lot of guys. As my wife likes to say, this wonderful SMU grad, NIL, now it's legal.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, so, yeah, they've missed, but I don't think they've also had the resources that I think they're going to have going forward, I think. And if that happens, they have to be more judicious in their selection, more in the evaluation mode. Don't take a guy because he played at Duke or he averaged this amount of points. But honestly, Mose, everybody's going through that. I can go around the country. There's a lot of whiffing going on because this is not like recruiting a high school kid for 2 years. This is strictly speed dating for the most part right now.
Yeah. But you feel when this happens, staying with Baylor for a second, that you let Tunde and like Cam Carr down, right? Cam Carr, who has struggled here of late with the shooting and everything, but has had incredible moments this season.
Sure. And
Tunde has just gotten better, even in an awful season. You can tell, man, the frame and everything. They're going. That's an NBA body. We'll see if the rest of the game comes with it. But that's an NBA. Hey, he can bang with the guys immediately. And that's what stinks, isn't it? When you see 2 dudes that can average 15 to 20 points a game, and you just don't have anything to put around them. And that's an interesting point you make about not having the money that some of these other teams, because I've thought Baylor, like with Norchad and Roach, I mean, those were big money items. I think Norchad was a $1 million man. And I
don't know exactly, but I would also say this: Baylor's been a victim of their own success. Like, you're not supposed to lose all these guys as one and dones.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like Yves Misi. I've known Yves since, his brother played with my son Matt at Harvard, Steve. I didn't think he was a one and done. And midway through that freshman year, it was clear he was gone. And I don't think anybody at Baylor thought he was one and done. Now, Keontae George maybe, Jacoby Walter. they've had an amazing run of recruiting one and dones, but it's almost bit them in the behind.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been able to have that continuity. Is it great for the recruiting? Hey, we got 6 straight years of a first round pick. Yes, but it also has bit them in the butt because like Davion Mitchell came out of nowhere. Maceo T came out of nowhere. Jared Butler was semi-recruited hard, but he had the heart issue. Didn't go to Alabama. We can go on and on. I mean, there's 100 guys that Scott's had that we can talk about. But recently, because of the success of the program, it's almost worked in reverse. And it's going to work again in reverse this year with the 2 guys who are likely going, although honestly, I think they both could use more seasoning. But as I probably used this example to you before, Mose, when the kid at Waco Midway throws 99 and he signs at Texas A&M or Baylor for baseball, that's cool until the Brewers take him with the 3rd pick in the draft, and he ain't going to college.
Yeah.
He's going to sign. And it's
the only
just like
thing that's changed is the money. And,
right.
Depending on how much money they have,
True.
You might make an argument with Carr. I don't think you could get Tunde to come back, but you might make an argument because Carr's already a little older. And if you could pay him a couple $1 million, maybe he would think about it. Because the best he's going to do at the next level, at least immediately, is a 2-way contract, probably.
Well, I don't know. Now, first of all, keep in mind, his dad played in the NBA for 7 years. He's got connections. A good agent right now with these kids that we're talking about, a good agent is going to tell the young man and the family, hey, I'm talking to all these teams. I'm talking about a guy that has NBA players that he represents, not some fly-by-night guy. And a good agent is going to say to, let's say Cam Carr, for example, and his family, hey, listen, I'm not getting anybody. No team is biting on you in the first 20 picks. Now, there's a couple teams from like 20 to 30 that are interested in you, but no guarantee. Or what happens is the agent tells the family and the kid, hey, listen, I've talked to the Clippers. They have 25. If you're there, they're taking you. And that's kind of how it works. So we're not at that point yet, but both of those kids could come back or should come back. But, they also both, what's their dream? Their dream is to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
Not necessarily play at Baylor. And by the way, very few kids are even talking about winning a national championship anymore. And I'm talking about every kid.
Yeah.
That's highly thought of. They're thinking about how quickly can I get to the league so I can get my contract started.
Yeah.
The new normal.
Or how I can rest and make sure I don't exert myself too much. And that leads me, I do need to ask you about Jerome here in a minute, because that's a guy, we're also, a great mutual friend of ours, but what he's going through. But the Darren Peterson thing continues to, last night I'm like, it looks like Kansas is doing okay. I don't know if I really need to check in. It looks like they're fine. And of course, it becomes a story because he plays 2 or 3 minutes in the second half. And we've all seen the highlight. He hits a 3 and kind of just signals over at Bill like, okay, I'm done here. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, have you, in the NBA, we've seen players like this that just don't want to show up. Ben Simmons and some others come to mind. Have you, and I thought Bill Self's comments last night were the first time. Now, you know Bill and you know that staff. So you're hearing things the rest of it aren't hearing. But publicly, Bill kind of finally was like, I'm kind of surprised. I thought he was doing fine. He was having a really good game. That was the first time Bill sort of publicly put it back on the player a little bit.
Yes.
Have you seen anything like this? And you said it already. I mean, obviously you think this is pretty crazy, what we're witnessing here.
Yeah. One thing I learned about the NBA, and I know obviously have a million friends. My son's coaching in the league. I coached 18 NBA players. You'd be surprised at how many guys don't love the game. And I'm not saying that Darren Peterson is this guy, but not every guy who makes the NBA loves the game. They love the money. They love what comes with being in the NBA. Like I always say it this way. There's a lot of guys in the NBA, and then there's guys that are really NBA players. Like they want to get better. They want to improve. They want to work at it. They want to sacrifice for their teammates. They want to get to the NBA conference finals. They want to kill themselves to win. And then there's other guys that are just happy to be making $15 million a year and like, hey, I'm going to I'll play. Yeah, I like playing. I'll play some. Yeah, but I'm not going to lose any sleep if we lose because I'm going right to Atlantis. I'm going to go to the Cove at Atlantis, and chill out for a week or two after the season. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, I don't want to ever cast aspersions on a kid and say he's not hurt because none of us know. I did see the ankle sprain at Colorado. We did that game.
Yeah.
But having said that, there's a bad vibe here. Like, he looks like a guy that's not trying to get back into the game, but he looks like a guy you ever see a guy that's fouled out and he just sits on the bench with the towel on his head and just kind of sits there?
Yeah.
He reminds me of a guy that just fouled out and just doesn't have a lot of interest in what's going on out there. And so I don't know. I mean, he's talented. He's really good. But here's the bottom line, and then we'll talk about Jerome. You got to go to your owner. Like, let's take I don't want to use the Mavericks because they were so dysfunctional. But let's go to the owner doesn't know anything about basketball, Dumont. So let's forget him. But you got to go to your owner, Ryan Smith, with the Jazz. By the way, Keontae's having a phenomenal season up there. But Danny Ainge has got to go to the owner and say, we can take Peterson with the number 1 pick. And the owner's going to go, whoa. We're going to pay him $36 million, and we're not sure he's going to play more than 50 games? Because that's what it is. It's $36 million over 3 years guaranteed. So the owners are going to ask questions of the GMs that want to take this kid with the 1st or 2nd pick. And you got to explain to the owner about all this nonsense. Because if he's a smart owner, he's not going to say, we just can't jump into this without knowing more. What is the issue with this kid? So a lot of question marks still floating around out there.
He'd be perfect on this Jazz team that's trying to tank.
The worst thing about the NBA right now is when 2 teams are playing each other that are both tanking.
Yes, it's a takeoff.
Tank-off.
It's like, who do you find? And how do you
who do you sit down? Who don't play in the 4th quarter? They better do something about that because it's killing the game.
You would have been a good NBA coach, but when you see like a Will Hardy, press conference where he's just like, wow.
My son told me, my son James, who's with the Wizards, told me, Dad, you could never coach in the NBA. You yell too much. He said, no, you can't do it. Because those guys, honestly, the superstars are business partners with the owners. So if the business partner of the owner's mad at the coach, guess who goes?
Yeah, exactly. Man, good catching up on all this. This situation in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Man, first of all, I think I liked your comments, and you've been very, upfront about, hey, pay the guy what you owe him.
Exactly.
I mean, this fight over this public thing, and now you got attorneys, on social media. Yeah. Somebody up there that covers the team says it's so peculiar to see Jerome's attorneys using the media. And I'm like, where have you been for the last 300 years? What do you think attorneys do? I mean, in a lot of cases, attorneys use the media. So I don't think we should be shocked by that. Yeah. I just hate it for Jerome because I don't know if you thought he crossed the line.
No,
toward the end, but I don't know what happened to that. I mean, his last 2 seasons, obviously. Yeah, we're talking about Scott whiffing in the portal. I guess Jerome did the same thing in a sense.
Yeah, well, like I said, a lot of coaches have whiffed in the portal because, again, it's speed dating, and sometimes you get desperate to put together a roster. There's only a few guys left, and they got a little baggage, whatever it might be, on or off the court, and you're stuck with them. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but. Okay, so in Jerome's case, I'm disappointed because I don't think he handled adversity well. The number 1 job description of a college coach is crisis management coordinator. It's not coach. It's not recruiter. It's not talking to the boosters. It's how do you handle the day-to-day adversity? And it happens every single day. I got a text from a coach last night. You'll be able to figure out who it is with a little digging. He said to me, your tweet about crisis management was right on the money. We just lost a kid. He's going back to Greece. All right. So it's a kid from Oklahoma State, basically. Yeah. You could have figured that out. And Steve Lutz texted me. And the point is, I really wish Jerome had handled the adversity a little better. Now, having said that, when I went through this at St. John's, where they unceremoniously fired me for looking at another job, Arizona State, and they didn't recover for 25 years until last year, I was really concerned. I had 2 little kids, and it was almost 7 figures involved at that time. And the best advice I got is, don't get your brother-in-law, a real estate attorney, to help you sort this out with the school. Get the best of the best. And my attorneys at Williams and Connolly in Washington, D.C., they have 50 partners and 1,000 lawyers, and they represented Clinton in the impeachment back in the 90s. And it was my way of saying, you might think I'm some little punk ass guy from Brooklyn, St. John's, but when the letter went to St. John's with the 50 partners on the letterhead, it was like, okay, come on, let's go. We're in a street fight right now. And very quickly, I got my money. So the point is, we both know Jerome probably did not do anything to break the contract as far as moral turpitude or any of that nonsense. He overreacted in a press conference, which I don't think was necessarily overreacting legally, but I just think pay him his money. You signed the deal. He signed the deal. Give him his money. Let him leave gracefully and go hire a new coach. Period.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Now, do you think Jerome, like we've both watched Scott Drew lose Alvin Brooks III, Jacobs, Tang, Nunes, just, whatever, that was a strange thing. He leaves during this season because something happened. Yeah. And like Scott, it's very important to him, the loyalty. He's got that really excellent coaching tree, although I get, obviously Grant McCaslin's doing tremendous from that tree. Jerome's obviously hit a wall here. Yeah. Is this a moment you feel like Scott, I wonder how much that plays a role, because Sanchez is a highly regarded assistant coach. Let's not act like he was a bad hire. Steve Henson, I'm sure he's a good offensive mind. You know all these people. Yeah. But you being a longtime coach, how big of a deal is that Scott, over the period of 4 or 5 seasons, lost so many people who were a huge part of that national title? Does that play a role?
Yeah, it does. It happens. Okay. It happens to everybody. It happens in football. Happens in basketball. You got that early staff. Those first 10 or 12 years, Whit Driscoll, who's great, Matt, Tang, McCaslin, Paul Mills. I mean, that was a unique group of guys. They poured their heart and soul into that program. It's still the greatest for building job in NCAA basketball history. And there were some great people involved in that. And sure, it has to hurt. I went through this. Probably one of my big weaknesses is I didn't do a great job of hiring people. Bear Bryant said it this way. This kind of fits with Jerome and Scott. Surround yourself with people who your success means something to. And that's what Scott had all those years. And when you do have change like that, of course, these guys are great coaches and great guys. I know them all. But if Jerome were to come back on the staff in the next year or two, maybe he takes a break and goes to Atlantis and hangs out with Trae Young for a few weeks, then that would be great because of their brotherhood, and I think it does matter. It's not easy to recreate what they had, but there's always a comfort level with someone that you've sweated with and rebuilt this program in a way that no one ever thought could get done. Jerome was a huge part of that. I was a big booster of Jerome. I really was, especially towards the end. And the biggest disappointment for me is just the last couple of years with, and who knows how good his staff was, right?
Yeah.
We don't know. Maybe he didn't have the kind of staff that Scott had all those years. So, but anyway, we'll see what happens. Jerome's a God-fearing man. They're going to pay him well. He was a national coach of the year, and I hope he bounces back strong. I think he will.
Okay, last one, because you got another big. And by the way, be careful that interview you've got coming up. You could get drawn off sides there. You don't want to. You don't want to get into any political.
I stay away from my politics with Dockage.
That's what I'm saying.
I like my job at ESPN. Let's put it that way.
That's right.
I fit Central Texas more than I do Cambridge, Massachusetts. Let's put it that way. Okay.
I love it. You're headed to Houston. Okay, you got Houston, Arizona. Yeah. That's 2 versus 4. I love you on these big games, and that's great because these teams. Cole Pete's not playing in this game right now. Going into that game, Iowa State has obviously had some big wins lately and kind of turned around after having a little mid-conference, a little bit of a hiccup, a little bump. Yeah. Those three teams, because sadly Tech with Toppin is gonna. We'll know Grant will do everything he can, but we're kind of have to eliminate them. BYU's had a big injury, and they were already a little bit iffy. Those three teams, who's your best? Who's got the best shot at Arizona, Houston, and Iowa State of winning it all?
Well, I think first of all, Arizona is going to be very judicious with Cole Pete. They don't care about these next few games. Like they want to win. Yeah. But they're already a 1 seed and maybe as low as a 2 seed. Period. They've done enough. They're at least a 2 seed, maybe a 1 seed. All they care about. They don't even care about the Big 12 tournament. They say they want to win it. They do. But all three of those teams can win a national title, and they've got to stay healthy the next 3 weeks, right? So, but it's a good question because they're all at a high level right now, especially when Pete's back. I would say I would take Arizona at their best over the other two because I just feel like they've got a great balance of inside, outside, depth, 8 guys. Depth's going to be hurt a little bit here, but long and short of it, all three of those teams are Final Four contenders. Tech would have been, not to be. It's not going to happen. BYU wasn't. Kansas is doing the soap opera stuff. But those three teams still are very dangerous to go deep into the tournament.
Got it. Okay. Please send me pictures of the new kitchen, if you don't mind. Like to take a pic. I might get some ideas. Okay. Boy, thank you for working us in today. Really appreciate it. Have a great call Saturday. Can't wait to watch you doing that.
Always a pleasure, Mo. Sorry I'm a little harder to catch up with now that I'm not driving down to, eat at Brazos Landing or any of my favorite spots.
We do miss you, but next year they're going to be good, so we'll get you back on these games.
Okay.